Podtacular, the unofficial Halo Universe podcast, presents episode 892, Grave Site, recorded live on January 6th, 2025. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Podtacular, the unofficial Halo Universe podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Duststorm.
I'm your other co-host, Godzilla T.
And welcome to 2025. It's hard to believe that we're already a quarter of the way through this century.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year, indeed. I will be 36 in just a handful of days.
To be 36 again.
I'm half your age, right? I'm kidding. Okay. No, I'm
old, ain't that old?
I know.
Just because there's gray in a beard now. Anyway.
Hi, Gramps. Anyways. It's been quite a while, though, since we've had the podcast. I think we've been off for just about a month, if not a little bit longer than that. We've had a few different game nights that have happened since then as well. We had the Snowball Fight playlist that came in for the winter holidays, which... I can't remember when we had the podcast last, if you had a chance to play that.
No, I never did get a chance to play it. I mean, I played it in Halo 5, and I'm sure it played pretty much the same.
It was similar. With the equipment, it's a little bit different, but some similarities there. But the fun thing is we've got Castle Wars in for the latest operation. So that's fun.
I'm interested to see how Castle Wars works with the Infinite engine.
I don't think it's really the engine. Like I played it
in Infinite, today. Let's put it that way.
Okay, yeah.
With this iteration of it.
I think the biggest part is really how the equipment changes the game. Because even in Halo 5 Castle Wars, like Castle Wars has obviously been around since, I want to say Halo 3. I know I started really looking at it more in Halo 4, but I'm thinking there were probably some Halo 3 Castle War maps.
Probably.
Especially when the remake of Sand Trap, the one that had the skybox that you could build on. Was that Sand Tarp? Was that what that map was?
No, Sand Trap.
No, because it was Sand Trap was the one that they first released, and then when they had the big set of Forge maps things, there was a new map. It's not Sand Trap. I forget what it is. Someone in the chat, let me know if not remembering it. But the equipment makes it interesting. The maps that they have, that the Forge maps they've put in there, most of them are pretty good. The layouts are definitely different. It's not just the straight lane on all the maps. Like there's a few of those that are sprinkled in there. There's a lot more that take advantage of the Infinite Sandbox and how things look a lot better. So there's a lot more varying architecture that they can do with it and change up the way that it works. I think the grapple hook is almost too overpowering for Castle Wars because it can snowball games pretty quickly if you have a good coordinated push, where Castle Wars in previous games you didn't really have that. Even in Halo 5 with the ground pound and some of the other abilities that you had in Halo 5 didn't affect the overall flow of Castle Wars too much, but I feel like with how much equipment's in Infinite, it's a pretty different experience.
Sandbox was the map you were looking for.
Sandbox, thank you.
Yeah.
Good old Google. Or Bing, or whatever your search provider is on the internet. But I think the overall feeling is there. Probably like to see the equipment tweaked a little bit, either for the second week or the next time this comes around. You have grapple hook that you start out with at spawn. So people are moving around everywhere. There's, depending on what map you're on, there's I think just about every equipment type. Maybe the regen and all the base equipment I think is in there. I don't think the regen's in there. I don't think the obfuscation ability, I'm blanking on the term at the moment, stasis field is in there, but you have your repulsor, your grapple shot, camo, overshield, no drop walls that I've seen. But the movement's just a lot different because everyone spawns with grapple shots.
So what do you think? A longer cooldown between shots or just a different starting equipment?
I think just take grapple shots either out completely or make it one of those central things that you can pick up.
So there's only one on the map instead of everybody?
Or two. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Something that you have to go pick up. And maybe have thruster be the default one. So you have a little bit of extra mobility, but it's not something like a grapple shot where you can basically launch yourself halfway over the map if you angle your trajectory right, grappling up against something. But I have a feeling we'll probably play it on game nights for the next couple of weeks. I know you said, GT, you won't be there tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be there tomorrow to host the lobby. Oh, crap. OBS crapping out again. I'm getting encoding lag.
Yay.
I'll look at my streaming PC. This doesn't say I have any dropped frames, but coding lag is speaking up for some reason. I swear I haven't done anything to this computer. Anyways.
No, I'm sure it's Windows. Microsoft likes to just introduce shit into the code. So, just to screw with you. See if you're paying attention.
I don't even, I know I've got a lot going on in the scene. I've got two NDI sources of video background and overlay, but other than that, I don't, it's not that bad. I don't know. I'm still getting rendering lag, and yeah, the OBS is lagging hard. Oh well, we'll keep. Yeah, I'm seeing it lag on the stream too.
Yeah,
we might be audio again only for. I didn't even upload the last recording because it just completely crapped out in OBS last time. Oh boy. Everyone on Twitch still thinks it sounds like I'm seeing jitter on my end.
Oh, I'm seeing it here too.
Okay. Looks like it just stabilized. Yeah, it's stable now. I don't know what it's doing. I don't have anything else running.
Okay, well, we'll just keep going. Sorry if it gets too bad, people.
Yeah. But we haven't quite gotten to this yet, but how were your holidays, GT?
Well, I spent one of them sick, and the other one I slept through.
We actually stayed up for New Year's. Well, we were in San Antonio. We went to Texas. We left our son with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
And went to San Antonio for a couple of days. So we actually stayed up. They had a little drone display where they had 2024 up for the last minute of 2024, and then it 4 repositioned to 5. So that was cool. And then there was a 10 minutes firework display.
Oh, I actually saw a cool, I think it was in Shanghai, a drone display. They actually did a dragon.
I heard about that.
Amidst the fireworks. It was wicked. I'm like, that's just cool.
They are really good with what they can do over there with the drones and the fireworks. Yeah. Gosh dang it. I did again. I have a whole bunch of stuff under I have a whole bunch of stuff under my desk, so I keep knocking it over.
Well, that's the one place you don't put anything is under your desk where your feet are.
I know, and the good thing I already copied this Blu-ray because now it's all scratched up. Good thing it was already copied.
Well, why is it not doing anything back in its case then?
It was in the case. That's the case is what I just knocked over.
Well, that was a crappy case.
That's a nice big gash. Well, it's my RVB stuff too. Ripping that to my Plex server.
Speaking of which, I need to do that.
Probably should do it. Get your collection up and running. Wow, I did a big number on that. I wonder if it's even readable anymore. I have to check. Anyways, sorry, big tangent on that. But yeah, our holiday was good too. We had a pretty quiet one for Christmas. Had quite a few gifts for our son that we got to open. Of course, he's not interested in half of them.
He wanted to play with the box.
He didn't really want to do anything that morning. He was not a happy camper that morning.
Oh.
Yeah. We tried to get him to interact with some of the things, but he was just not. I think he was just tired, or I don't know. But we had a good time in Texas visiting my family. It was a good time to get away. Good chance
That
to
was
just
good.
unwind, relax. So overall, it was pretty good.
Well, we're actually having our Christmas gathering tomorrow night because
We
of
didn't
sickness and travel and snowstorms. And we're a little late this year. We usually try to get together the weekend before Christmas because my brother tends to go out of town to visit his in-laws over Christmas. They stay in town for Thanksgiving and spend it with our folks. So, but no, we're going to do ours tomorrow night, so it ought to be a lot of fun.
Good.
My nieces are getting older now, so it's not quite the same as it used to be,
Yeah.
but it's still fun.
Good. We didn't actually open our presents until Tuesday
Yeah.
because we were so busy. We were so busy packing on Christmas to leave for Texas that we didn't have time to open presents. And then when we got back, we were just so busy that we didn't have time, and we just were like, okay, we need to actually open presents. So we did that on Tuesday and finally got through that.
Mm-hmm. Well, me and the wife, we used to get each other presents, but we don't do that anymore. We just, if it's something we want, we get it. It's the whole gift giving thing. We just try to save that for, like our friends and family.
Mm-hmm. Same. I did my send out of goodies. Hopefully you got yours.
Yes, I did. And the dog did not.
Good.
Yeah, last year my dog took care of my Christmas package from Dust.
Well, our personal trainer, his dog ate the whole box before he had a chance to eat any of it. So yeah,
we secured ours in a location where it was safe.
very good. Well, I'm glad. All right. Well, while we've had a somewhat more positive holidays, Halo's not off to a great start for 2025.
No, not exactly.
We'll get through some of the Halo news stuff first. So there's a new operation in Infinite. It's Brute Force that launched this week, this past Tuesday. And with it, we have Castle Wars, which is a Podtacular favorite.
Lots of fun.
We used to play that a lot back in our Halo 5 game nights.
Beep, beep, get out of the way!
Was it its own playlist at one point?
Mm-hmm.
And we just kept playing it in socials? Yeah, okay. I thought that's what I remembered. It's a fun one. So it's there as a featured playlist, at least for a couple of weeks. There's 6 different maps. I did not realize Erikibu had a hand in almost all of these.
Really?
I
hadn't actually looked yet, so nice.
I hadn't looked at the Waypoint article. There's actually 8 maps and not 6. But yeah. 6 of the 8 maps are by Erikibu.
Well, way to go, Erikibu.
Wow. And I don't know if he ever... I'm guessing he still listens. I don't know if he still does. But that's incredible. That Podtacular veteran is actually making some maps and doing some work. So good on you, Erikibu. I don't know if you listen to us anymore, but it's good to see your name in Halo Waypoint.
Yeah, swing by sometime. Say hi.
Yeah, please do. And if you ever want to be interviewed or talked about, I know English isn't your I don't think it's your native language, but would be happy to chat with you about it.
And you can make fun of how we talk.
Action Sack is also a playlist coming later in this operation.
Finally.
I know, right? Like, we kind of have an Action Sacky type playlist in Quick Play with some of the stuff, but this will be nice to hopefully have a permanent place for all these fun game modes to live. And actually, I don't know. I think Fiesta needs to be its own playlist and not Quick Play. I feel like putting Husky Raid and Fiesta in its own playlist should be, or its own collection.
I mean, Husky Raid and Fiesta could go in the Action Sack playlist. I don't think it necessarily needs to be a standalone. Would I like it to be a standalone? Yes. but I think it would be a better fit in the action sack playlist than in the quick play.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the majority of the stuff in the quick play is the more serious game types.
Now that, yeah. So as I was thinking through it more, and as you were describing it, that makes more sense to have quick play be more of the core, and put Fiesta and Husky Raid into action sack with with Castle Wars, with the Survive the Undead should go in there too.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost wonder if this is just 343's response to a lot of the community asking, "Hey, don't take out these playlists because people are having fun with it." Snowball Fight.
Mm-hmm.
You can leave it in there for action sack. Where's Rocket Race?
Oh, I would love to have Rocket Race.
I hope action sack launching comes with Rocket Race. I really do, because that's whenever you think of action sack, that's probably the game mode that most people think about is Rocket Race.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that's something that comes.
I would love to see that again.
It would be nice.
Yeah, I appreciate that they're still innovating on the playlists and stuff, but I would kind of like to see them put something together for, the parties that are too big for quick play, but really too small for anything else. Like the 5 to 6 size group, but I don't know what you would do.
Did Halo 5 have any 5-player matchmaking playlists? I can't remember if they did or not.
I don't think they did. I think you went from 4v4 straight into big team.
Yeah. And Halo 4 had 6, but that was just because of how Halo 4 was a little bit different.
But
so I'd
kind of like to see something other than the squad battle. The 8v8.
Yeah. Which, don't get me wrong, squad battle is great, but it's still would be nice to have. I'd just like to see
something different between those two. Kind of I don't know. Actually, I think Action Sack would probably be a good place to put that.
The only thing is the playlist, I think you have to have the same player count. So you wouldn't be able to mix a 4v4.
Right, like I said.
With a 6v6 type or an 8v8 type. So you almost need a Action Sack 4v4 and an Action Sack 8v8. Because if you think back to Reach...
Yeah, like I said,
basically Big Team Social would be Action Sack 8v8 is what you're kind of looking for.
And maybe they could do something like that, just something for the me parties. Not full on.
I mean, we get Halo Infinite's big team is 12v12. That's fine. But there's still kind of that perfect balance of sometimes that 8v8 is just kind of a sweet spot depending on party size. Or have a squad social or something.
I like the squad battle stuff, and it's fun. But I mean, it's kind of a limited playlist as far as maps and types, so it gets pretty old pretty quick.
What they should have done is left big team, and just like make the 12v12 like bigger team, or like max team or ultra team or something. I don't know.
I mean, people have been screaming for a bigger big team ever since Halo 3 freaking launched.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I get it. But there's still something about just that 8v8 experience.
But yeah, I would like to see
fun.
Something more along that 8v8. Just more opportunities in there. And that can trickle up to the 12v12 too. I mean, the 12v12, I mean, they do have the Fiesta type game modes in the 12v12. You have the more serious stuff. But yeah, I'm glad to see Action Sack come back.
It'll be curious to see what modes they have in there. And I haven't kept up with community modes as best as I probably should be. But I'm hoping for a lot of the classics to make their return in Halo Infinite. It could be a given the track record with Halo Infinite and 343/Halo Studios, it'll either be a banger or it'll be a big miss. And then they'll have to claw their way back to make it somewhat.
Yeah. Speaking of clawing their way back.
I don't think there's a lot of other official Halo news because Microsoft is pretty much off for the holidays. There's a new operation, so I don't think I'm missing anything else on the official news front.
Oh, we can talk about the Halo and Doom thing?
Yeah, we'll get to it. Last thing from Waypoint, there's a HCS off season from December 22nd through February 8th. There are off season tournaments that will take place on weekends. Things are already going on, so if you want to participate in either 4v4 or 1v1, there's cash prizing for every weekend. For 4v4, it's $750 for first place. I don't know if that's per player or per team. I don't see where they say, but there is money to be earned for those that are participating competitively. I want to play during the off season, so that is happening. So at least give the pros something to do while they wait for official season announcement for season 4. So that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I guess it's time to get into the not so great start to Halo.
Yeah.
So there's been quite a few things.
I've learned a lot over the past couple of weeks about how this worked, and it was nowhere near like what I thought it was.
Yeah. I'm assuming you're talking about Digsite?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's touch on that a little bit. There's been a lot of talk about it in plenty of other places. I know as a weekly podcast, and with us being off, we're kind of behind a little bit. And for those that haven't been able to tell, we've kind of drifted away from being kind of on top of the news just because we're a weekly podcast. And by the time it gets around, there's already dozens of YouTubers or other sources that have already talked about it. So it's like we can
just give our
opinions.
point of view.
Yeah. If you want all the details, then obviously there's plenty of other content creators that will dive deep down into it for you. I've been watching MitBlitz for pretty much most of the Halo news that I consume these days, and he does a pretty good job of being level-headed with most of the stuff. Most of the time, obviously he gets passionate about some things, but I think he tries to maintain a good, unbiased attitude towards most of the stuff. But short story is the Digsite team has been working with 343 to bring old Bungie-era content to the Master Chief Collection in the form of mods. The team was very small, like a team of 10 people or so, and they've been working on, obviously, the Halo 2 E3 demo, the Halo 2 missions being the cut ones from Bungie being restored as a mod. And I don't remember when exactly this happened, but there was a leak that happened either Christmas Eve or just after Christmas of someone leaking a whole bunch of content from Halo CE through Halo 3 that basically has killed off any further development of Digsite. At first, people thought it was someone from the Digsite team that was leaking it out, but with how close-knit and how things were broken up in such a way where 343 didn't give all members of the Digsite team equal access to all parts of the content, that it was very unlikely, and it's been pretty much confirmed that it wasn't a Digsite member that released the leaked info. But because it's out there now, that in conjunction with the fact that the Digsite members were working more than 40 hours a week to produce the content for 343 and not being paid at all, that combination has pretty much killed all Digsite stuff going forward, which is really unfortunate because I feel like a lot of the community stuff is what keeps Halo alive.
Yeah.
It's what keeps people engaged and interested. And heck, even Forge maps. That's probably a decent amount of the content that you play in matchmaking, unless you're a pro player.
Yeah. The part that gets me about this, and like I said, I didn't completely know how the Digsite team was working. I mean, I knew it was a mix of 343 employees and individuals, but I was under the impression is that this was worked on in their free time. I was not under the impression that they were on specific deadlines to get things done. And if it was something that was worked on in their spare time, okay, fine. Yeah, I don't think they I don't think 343 should be required to pay them. If it's a passion product, they're just doing it as they get time. But when you start expecting people to put in that kind of hours, you better freaking pay them. Because that's no longer a hobby. That is a job.
Yep.
And if you impose deadlines on those people, then you have hired them.
And I don't know what kind of labor laws exist where
Well, no, it's...
I mean, if it's volunteer work, there cannot be an expectation of a deadline.
Exactly.
There just can't.
Yeah, if you are... This is a U.S. corporation. So they are bound by the U.S. labor laws.
Well, I don't know what those are, and if they signed up as a volunteer, it's like, well, they could have said no. And
they could have said no. And I'm not saying the fault falls completely on 343 or Microsoft. The people on the Digsite team, they could have walked away as soon as things started getting hairy, but they're dedicated to their craft, and they wanted to bring this stuff to us.
Yeah.
And I thank them for that. I'm sorry it went this way. But as an entity, 343, Microsoft, if they are going to impose deadlines on free labor, then that labor needs to be paid for.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, that is if they're imposing deadlines, which I don't know that they did.
There were deadlines imposed. According to things I've seen.
Like
I don't have first-hand account of it, but...
we're getting this secondhand knowledge, so we don't know exactly what happened. And we probably won't unless one of the Digsite members actually talks about it. So
some of the content out there has been like screenshots or people have from the Digsite team actually coming out and saying, and
like
for three people.
I haven't seen this.
There's a few things out there that's been captured by content creators. Like, here's from a Digsite person, this is what they said.
Mm-hmm. And I've honestly just been staying away from it because I'm just really tired of all the bull, honestly.
Well, and the thing that really gets me is like you're of course I get doing something as volunteer work in the passion project. Like, heck, we've been doing this podcast for who knows how long at this point, and it's been, I haven't gotten a dime from 343 for it. I mean, granted, like, I did the game show for Outposts and I got flipped for my hotel.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
passes,
I've been here for 10 years and I've gotten a ticket to a NASCAR race. That's all I've gotten from them. And I thank them for it. I appreciate that they gave me the ticket and gave me the opportunity to go watch that race.
But for something as pivotal as the Halo 2 E3 demo that generates a whole bunch of interest.
Yeah.
And to impose a deadline to get that done for the anniversary, like, it's very sketchy to and it's just really disheartening to see that mistreatment of the Halo community. It's like you're actively shooting the people, not literally, but you're impacting people's lives that are trying to help build you up. And it's like, okay, thanks. Just like, okay, thank you for that. Like, how heartless can you be?
And that makes me wonder, it honestly makes me wonder about a lot of the Forge content that makes it up into matchmaking. What are they doing to those forgers that are providing this content to them for free? Are they imposing deadlines on them as well?
There are some that they are. I mean, like all the unique stuff, the stuff that was the Halo 3 recharge thing that Unique did, like that was a deadline. Like they're working with these forgers for deadlines on things. It's like
I said, I get that we want user generated content in the matchmaking because it refreshes matchmaking, and the users come up with unique ways of playing.
But I think to your point, it's one thing for someone to go make it and then it to be picked up by the community. It's like, hey, this is cool. And the developers say, oh, this is cool. Let's throw it into matchmaking. Here's your, Ice Unicorn or Fire Emblem skin. I forget what the things are at the moment. It's like, Okay, fine. That's something where there's no expectation of the community member doing it. They're purely doing it out of their own interest and their own desire to make something. Cool. But if you're going out to the community and like working with the community saying, hey, we want to do this. If
want Castle Wars maps.
Yeah, if it's an end product to benefit you financially, because I don't see any of the microtransactions funds that you're making going to those people for the operations. Like, this is a featured playlist for half of the operation in there. There should be some portion of money from stuff earned during that time that should go to these forgers putting content into these featured playlists. 343/Halo Studios is like, here's the featured playlist. Here's the thing for this operation pass. This is the thing to come play right now. If you're having community people build something for you, you should be paying them for it.
And for $20, you can play the operation forever.
Right?
It's like,
well, that's not playlist. That's just access to the microtransactions.
Well, no, the playlist is part of the operation as the featured playlist.
Right, but you have access to playlist regardless if you have.
Yeah, I know, but they're making money off the operation, and they're using free content to do it.
I mean, it's one thing to say like, okay, we have a plan for a Castle Wars playlist. Community members, submit your stuff, and we'll look at it. There's only pressure on the creator if they want to have something by a deadline, but they're not being cherry picked by 343 to say, okay, we need maps by this date for this playlist. Go.
Yeah.
It'd be one thing if it was they went out and curated existing community content to pull it in.
Stuff that's already out there on people's file shares.
Yeah.
Say, hey, we like this map, this map, this map, this map. Let's bring those in house. Let's bug test them and see if we can put them in matchmaking.
And I know for Infinite, they are doing that for some of it, but there are other things that I've heard where that's been the other way too, where they've specifically gone to some forgers and be like, we want to work with you to do this. Can you do this? And it gets fuzzy because like
it is.
Yeah, the community content person can say no if they don't want to do it. But at the same time, it's like Microsoft is a multi-billion-dollar company. There's money that can be shared with the forgers that is helping. Like if the forgers didn't make the content, you would have to have paying people in-house to make the content for you to put into these playlists so you can earn more money off of microtransactions. Sure, you might not necessarily need to pay the forgers it because they're not an employee. You're not giving them health benefits or like as a full-time employee thing, but they should be getting some portion of, hey, you're supporting us. We're going to support you.
I mean, even if it was just a flat fee.
Yeah, like, okay, I mean, we feature a map.
You generated a map for us. We'll pay you this to help compensate you for the time you put into it.
Yeah.
And it's a slippery slope. And I understand that because so much of the content that is out there is pure just generated because people are passionate about the game.
Oh yeah, sure. But
if you make something and you want to devote 40 hours a week to it and then put it up on your file share, that's fine. But the line there is when an entity like Microsoft or Halo Studios comes to you and say, I need you to make this content.
And that's the Digsite team,
wait a minute.
Like. And it almost
then that line gets really fuzzy because now you have somebody asking you to do work for them, but not pay you.
Well, and it'd be one thing where it's like, okay, 343 goes out there and is like, hey, we have all this content that never got released for the Bungie-era games that we know people have expressed interest in, but people want to be willing to work on it. Sure. And my guess is that's probably how the Digsite team got started. It was all volunteer work. It's like, okay, we'll tinker around with the files. We'll see what we can do.
And then,
but then
go, oh, by the way, I need this by next Tuesday.
Right. They see the success of the team. They see how much interest there is in cut content. And then 343 is like, oh, we can milk this and start imposing deadlines on things, especially like the Halo 3 E3 demo, or Halo 2 E3 demo, I think is the only one publicly that's come out to say this has been a deadline type thing, and that people were working 40 plus hours, more than a full-time job, to actually meet the deadline for this. It's one thing, it's like, okay, a dedicated group of community people want to spend their time to try to fit the mods into MCC and make them Steam Workshop compatible. Okay, fine. That's like their own volition, their own willingness to put forward their time. If they don't want to do it, they have the agency to say, sorry, I don't have the time to do this. But it sounds like for this specific situation, it was 343 saying, we need this by X date. You will deliver this by X date. And at that point, it's like, okay, well, I guess here's another thing too. Yes, technically you don't have to pay them because they volunteered their time and they're willing to do it. But it's really crappy as a multi-billion-dollar parent company, Microsoft, to
like I said,
not.
I'm not saying that there's anything illegal about what they did. It's just
no, but it's really scummy.
Kind of a shitty attitude.
Yeah, it's like you want to treat your community like trash after they've done so much for you. It's like, okay, thanks for helping us make more money, and you're not going to see a dime of it. It's like, throw a bone or something, and maybe they have some other things in the back end that they're not talking about, and maybe it's I don't know. There's still a lot of mystery behind this, and we're kind of going off of just what's been said and what people have said, and there's obviously always two sides to the story, but just basing on what we know, it just seems like it's a very crummy attitude and response to what everything that's going on. And I don't blame the Digsite team for not continuing on after the E3 Halo 2 demo, because how much time and effort did they waste? And there's people that can't live now because they decided to put time and effort into it, which there's something to be said about that. Is like, okay, these folks need to be able to time manage better or be able to stand up and say no, but it's hard to do that when it's like, hey, we want you to do this and showcase your work. But then if you're just going to take the work and say, here's a cool thing the Digsite team did, and that's all the recognition that they get is just recognition, and there's nothing else. It's like right, there's probably nothing illegal going on. There's nothing that can really make a difference at this time, but it's just a really crappy way to treat your community. And for a franchise that is so heavily influenced by its community, it just really sucks to see that there just seems to be no drive to make the community better from the studio, almost. And there was another comment in Mintblitz's video about some X343 person saying that there's no desire for community interaction from the studio leads, and I'm hoping that's just wrong, because I can't see you having a community team with Sketch and Unishek and Sam, and a lot of people have been saying too, like, well, Halo Studios really hasn't shown that they've changed and are making a change from what 343 was and everything going on there. But Halo Studios just needs to do better. Do better for the game, do better for the franchise, do better for the community. I think it needs to be a lot more than just showcasing stuff. We're in a day and age now where things are so much bigger in the gaming space. It's harder to get recognized. It's harder to, like, sure, maybe within the Halo community, people know who Eric Ibu is, who Unique is, who Ubernick is, and like within those niches, it's fine. But back in the Halo 3 days, like, that recognition meant a lot, and it got eyes on you from not just people in Halo, but across the gaming sphere. And nowadays it's like, okay, some Halo people might recognize the name, but doesn't really go beyond that. And to put time and effort into building something, and then 343 just kind of takes that and it's like, yep, here's what we can do to encourage more people to spend money on us. It's like you're stealing someone, not stealing. I mean, the game content usage rules, you're making content for them. It's their intellectual property.
Technically, it is their property.
Yeah, it is. It's their intellectual property.
You are modifying their property with their permission.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, it's legal and technically fine, but it's really scummy.
Mm-hmm. And, with this, it will make people not want to work with them.
No.
If
teams are going to be put together and then
the way things happen now, how long before the forgers say, yeah, no, we're not going to do that for you anymore?
I think you have to have, there's always going to be forgers though. Like you're not going to have people stop forging.
Well, no, but they may not forge. They may not, Halo, they'll still forge stuff. They'll put it up on their file shares. But then to have Halo Industries come to you, hey, I need you to make a map. Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Well, they have to stand up to that first.
Yeah.
And for some of these folks that are new to the spotlight, it's like, oh, 343 or Halo Studios noticed me. It's like, sure, I'll do it. It's like all the veterans by now is like, okay, I've learned my lesson, but it's going to be a cycle. It's going to be just a vicious cycle of, okay, the next person gets recognized, 343 takes advantage of them, and then they learn. Then the next person that's up and rising on Forge.
The whole store thing. We've said vote with your wallet. Well, the community did vote with their wallet. They buy the shit out of this stuff. And I'm not saying that it's going to stop, but it is going to make, unfortunately, I think it can eventually hurt the quality of the stuff that we get.
Yeah. Because,
okay. Now Eric Yabu says, no, I'm not going to do that no more. I mean, there's no incentive for me to do this on a deadline if I have to give up my day job to get it done. Or, the same with any of the other forgers.
Yeah.
So so now we start getting in new forgers in. And I'm nothing against the new forgers. But you have new forgers that are less experienced with the forging engine. So you get simpler maps. Less, especially with the brains, less complex systems. And I think over time, it will just degrade the quality of the stuff we get.
Look at what the Forged Falcons have done with their Survive the Undead and their Battle Royale modes, and how much time they put into that. And that was a labor of love, obviously. And their Survive the Undead got featured.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was something a little bit more akin to the Halo 3, Halo 4 era, where a talented group of individuals spent their own time to make this experience. And they got recognized by 343 and said, oh, we want to feature this. Cool. That wasn't something that 343 had planned. That wasn't something where they went to Forge Falcons we need an experience, go. This is something that Forge Falcons did on their own. And it got so much community recognition where 343 is like, okay, hey, Forge Falcons, you mind if we put this into a workshop thing and make it there? And they said, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
that's totally fine. But if you're going out to say, hey, Forgers, we need maps for this, you need to get it done by this, go. It's not like a Forge Hub contest where it's like, okay, we're doing this contest, here's your entry window, you need to be submitted by this date, so we have 6 weeks to have a final copy of it here. I think for some of these, though, they've gone out to specific forgers, is like, we need this at this time. And maybe forgers, in that case, they've paid. I don't know. This is obviously just Digsite.
Like I said, we don't know how things work. If there's forgers out there being paid, I'm glad for you. And I hope that the compensation is worth the time you put into it.
This just smells eerily suspicious to okay, Microsoft doesn't have their internal testers for Windows updates now, and now every Windows user is a beta tester.
Oh, yeah. God, that pissed me off. Anyway.
the quality of Windows updates has severely degraded since
Oh,
they
yeah.
got rid of their internal teams.
Well, the quality of Windows in general is severely degraded since they made that move.
I think that's very subjective.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, Windows 10 as a package is a pretty good jump from Windows 7. We just don't talk about that one in the middle. I mean, don't get me wrong. Windows 10 is a significant jump between Windows 7 and 10. There are a lot of things that were learned through Windows 8 that they applied in Windows 10 that made it a better operating system. But there's a lot of stuff in Windows 10 that wasn't in Windows 7 that I don't necessarily want.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand it's a free upgrade. That's fine. I understand that. I would much rather have paid for it because the amount of work I have to go through just to protect my own privacy is absurd.
I haven't done that to mine, as I probably should. Try to get rid of all the telemetry and extra bloat.
I mean,
Microsoft.
Yeah, when it takes me an hour and a half after reinstalling Windows to fix Windows, I mean, I know there's tools out there, but I'm skittish about just random scripts that you
Which
run.
you should be. You should be very cautious.
I have no idea what these things are actually doing, and I don't have the expertise to go through the coding and understand the coding. If I had...
All the good YouTubers or all the good content creators out there that cover them are very specific to say, like, do not just blind trust this. Like, investigate this yourself before you do it.
Like I said, I don't...
Or get someone else who you trust to go and verify. It's like, yep, I trust this. Or
I do not know the language. So I don't know. I can't read through the programming and understand what the programming is or what the script is doing. So I just don't do it.
It's mostly just registry hacks.
Mostly, I know. But what is it actually changing? I mean, really, what is it actually doing to the system? I mean, yes, it's making registry changes, but what are those changes? I can't look through it and see what those changes are. I can't look through the script and understand what those changes are. I mean, I know it's making registry changes. That's obvious. But what those are, I don't know. So I have to do it a more up close and personal way.
Slow approach.
And there are certain pieces of software that I install that are trusted softwares. I mean, they're from companies where I actually have to pay for the software in order to protect the information that I have on my systems.
Well, now I'm already screwed because I use OneDrive.
Well, I do too. OneDrive. I still use OneDrive, but I have very specific stuff that I put on OneDrive. And it is none of it is personal.
I've got personal stuff on OneDrive.
I mean, it's not that I don't trust OneDrive. It's all the people that use OneDrive that I don't trust. Anyway.
Talking about privacy, just another really random tangent.
Anyway.
I'm kind of curious if this is a thing or not, but I've noticed a few times when I've been watching YouTube videos, almost the second I walk away from my desk, an ad pops up. And it's not like at a moment where I think an ad would be.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been a lot of times where I walk up from my desk and an ad pops up. It's like, that's eerily suspicious.
Yeah. Oh, it happens to me all the time on my phone. My phone listens to it. It listens to conversations around me. Because somebody will be, I literally wasn't even part of the conversation. Wasn't even part of the conversation. I was just over at my computer doing work. And then I got done with what I was doing and I just freaking opened Facebook for just to kind of scroll through. See, I was actually going to Marketplace, actually. Because I perused Marketplace. Oh, that's cool. Let's go. God, I gotta have it. No. Damn it. No. Anyway. And then the ads start popping up. And it's like, they were just talking about that. I mean, like, 3 minutes ago, they were just talking about that. That's coincidental. Yeah, no, it's not. It's listening.
No. For your phones, they're always listening.
Yeah, I mean, and...
Which is sad, because, like, how do I turn that off? You can't.
Well, you turn the phone off is the only way you can do it.
Well, yeah, there's that too.
I mean, there needs to be... I mean, honestly, there should be legislation in place that keeps tech companies from doing that. That should not be something legal for them to do.
Shouldn't be, but it is somehow.
I mean, they should not collect our data for any reason. But it's the society we live in right now. So,
yeah.
But back to Halo. We'll see how this works out.
Yeah, short of it is, Digsite team is likely no more because they were overworked, not paid, and pretty much they don't have the ability to continue working at the pace that they were working at. And now with the leak, that kind of probably likely killed any further Digsite development.
Mm-hmm.
Another weird part of this whole thing, too, is 343 wanted the Digsite team to work on the content specifically for MCC mods, not for mods of being able to put it into like Halo CE for PC or Halo 2 or Xbox mods. They wanted it specifically as a mod for MCC.
Mm-hmm.
So there were obviously confines around what they could do, which is fine to an extent. But it's just kind of really eye-opening to see how 343 just was completely taking advantage of the Digsite team and the work they were doing and basically giving 343 free publicity and probably helping them earn more money too without a cent going back to the work that they've done.
Well, I mean, I understand why they were focusing it on MCC because right now that's their largest install base.
Except they don't have people working on fixing the MCC problems to begin with.
No.
I'll take that back. They do have some people trying to fix the cheating issue, but
of all the different versions,
nothing being developed.
Yeah, currently just for Halo CE, all the different versions of Halo CE, MCC is probably the current largest install base of all of them. I'm not saying the other ones aren't active, but MCC is the largest install base. It also has the support of the Steam Workshop, which makes it easier for the lay people like myself to install mods. I have been able to work my way through installing mods into customization. I've installed SPV3 a couple of times now, but it's not always just a plug and play like it is with the Steam Workshop. Even the Steam Workshop, every once in a while, you got to do a little fidgeting to get it to work. It's like when we were playing Cursed Halo. They issued an update to Master Chief Collection that rendered Cursed Halo unplayable without modifying a file. Luckily, the developer immediately got out instructions on how to fix the problem. But like I said, I can understand them wanting to focus on MCC for those reasons. I mean, even to the point they've actually issued takedown notices for some of this other stuff because it was planned contents for MCC and it's worked its way into the other versions of the game.
Well, and that was the issue with the leak content too, is Microsoft's been issuing takedown strikes for the leaked content.
And which, I mean, they're well within their right to do that.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, it is leaked content. It is illegitimate. It is not ours to have. If you have this content, that is theft. Even though it's out there on the internet, that is theft. Do I want to see the rest of this content? Oh, hell yes, I do. But I'm not going to go to that point. I'm not taking it to that level. So I just hope
it's very unfortunate.
The community has seen what has happened and has a better understanding of what it means to do something for Halo Studios and what can be expected if they come knocking on your door saying, hey, I need this.
Well, and it just goes back to we get what we pay for. And if people keep playing the game and keep purchasing the microtransactions, they're saying that, hey, what you're doing works for us. And we also have to think about we're in the vocal minority of people that play this game. And I don't know how many are playing versus watching these kinds of stories evolve. Some people just probably get on to play and have no clue what's going on. They probably don't even read rate point or know what's coming up. They just play, and whatever comes up, this comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Casual gamers do not necessarily get into the weeds of these kinds of stories.
No,
they
they
don't
don't
get into the drama like we do. Like we get into it because we're passionate about it. We want to see the franchise thrive, and we think things need to be a certain way in order to thrive. And we've been through the franchise. We see how people react to it. But again, if people are going to just keep paying for it, like the game isn't going to change. So people have to speak with their wallets.
I mean,
people have to make their voices heard.
The public has already spoken. And
well, the vocal public has spoken.
Well, no, I mean, the people that play the video games, that spend the money, have spoken and said, we're okay with this because we spent the money. And that money adds up to billions of dollars. I mean, some guy walk up and hand you $1 million. Would you turn it down? I mean, here, so you take $1 million, Dust.
Oh, thank you.
No strings attached. You're going to take the damn money. I consider myself a casual gamer. Yes, I'm involved in the Halo community because I love the story. And I love the people that I've met in the community. I enjoy interacting with them. But when it comes to actually playing, I don't play to compete. I play to have fun. And as long as I have fun, that's all I care about. I can't even tell you the last time I looked at the shop in Halo Infinite.
I got my Halo crown. That was it.
Because there's nothing in there for me. I mean, there's nothing in there I can get that I would want.
The only thing I want now is the armor that comes with hero rank, which is going to be a long time.
Same for me, even longer. Because one, the pricing is absurd.
Well, it's the pricing that the industry, it's the pricing that they have calculated based off of data from other games and other marketplaces.
Well, I mean, you have all these other games.
Fortnite.
You have all these other games that do the same thing. And they've proven people will pay this money for this stuff. I'm like, okay, well, you're the idiot paying for it. So, okay, more power to you. As long as the stores don't affect the way I can affect gameplay, do whatever the hell you want. I can tell you I don't like it, but you're going to do it anyway, so it doesn't matter. Because the player base has said, we're okay with it. Because they keep spending money.
Just sucks that all this content that got leaked is just, it's never going to see a formal light of day with a mod for the Digsite team. Because one, the Digsite team is pretty much dissolved at this point because the people that were part of it can't go on the way they've been working.
I mean, it is possible Halo Studios will revisit that content at a later date. Unlikely. Because, I mean, even other than the Digsite team, nothing's really happened with MCC.
Right. And
Halo Industries has done nothing with MCC other than try to fix bugs. And they're not even doing a really good job at that because the cheaters are still running rampant through it. Which makes, in my opinion, the game unplayable.
And MCC, I didn't realize this, but almost has double the population than Infinite on Steam charts.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine the Xbox population is somewhat comparable.
Yeah. Well, that's because the cheaters, it's easy to cheat in them, so they go to that game. Being silly. I mean, I get I still, do not get me wrong. I still love the original games. I've enjoyed every single Halo game for different reasons, but the community as a whole, they look through rose-colored glasses on their favorite game, whichever one that is. CE2, Reach, 3, 4, 5. When they look at these games, they all look at them through rose-colored glasses, because every single one of them has got their flaws and has had their trials and their tribulations.
But I think a lot can be said about how the developer responds to such flaws.
True.
And I think that's probably what's getting a lot of people really frustrated and mad.
But the thing that communities need to remember is Halos 1, 2, and 3 were a lot simpler games than anything after that. They aren't the behemoths that are out there now. I mean, can you imagine the difference in just the lines of code between Halo? We'll even go with Halo Reach, the last Bungie game, and Halo 5. Can you imagine the length of the code between those two games? The more these games grow, the more complicated they get, the harder they get to fix. Now, granted, with Halo Studios moving to Unreal, it's going to change things. And a lot of the problems that we've been having with Halo since 343 taken over have been caused by Mama Microsoft. The implementation, especially with this implementations of 18 months and you're gone. What's the point? About the time they learn how to work on Halo, they have to quit working on Halo. That's a big problem. And that is bull. Because with Bungie,
that makes no sense.
Well, with Bungie, you started working on Halo. You stayed working on Halo for 5 games. The same engine.
The 18-month thing was really, like, especially in tech, you don't do that.
If you're rolling your development staff that quickly, you will never get anything done. Especially when you're using a custom engine or a custom piece of software. Trust me, I know that. Because guess what I use at work? A custom piece of software. It works like nothing else in the industry. But I know how to use it because I've been doing it for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
I go to another parts store. I look at it. What the f*** is this? You have to push enter? No. You click here. And it would take me 18 months just to figure out the damn system on how to use it correctly. So, I mean, Microsoft just shot themselves in the foot right there with that one.
Yep, it did.
And then there's all the other stuff on top of it. The management not communicating with each other correctly.
Them not being able to talk with other teams.
Yeah, I'm not saying the management of 343 was perfect, because obviously it wasn't. But I also look at, well, what did they have to work with? Because they're not an independent company. They have a parent company that says, yes, you can do this. No, you can't do that. Yes, we'll pay for this. No, we're not going to pay for that. I mean, so anyway, so comparing today's games to the past, apples and oranges. You were going to say, Dust?
I was just going to say, I'm in an acting senior leadership role at where I work.
Mm-hmm.
And communication is obviously a big thing. Communicating up through your leadership chain, communicating down to your teams. And when I heard it come out that teams weren't allowed to talk to each other, that they were stovepiped, and that leadership wasn't communicating anything down, it's like 2 things pop into my head of why that is. One, leadership wasn't competent and didn't have the leadership skills that they supposedly had and claimed they had, and they were just writing tenure. Or 2, Microsoft above them was telling them, no, you're going to do it this way, and they thought they knew better. And someone at 343 should have just said, no, screw off. Let us make a game that we know how to make a game.
Yeah.
There's something wrong in the leadership chain.
Well, and like I said, in that position, in that particular instance, Microsoft said, well, there's the door. You can collect your check on the way out.
Microsoft's going to lose this franchise, man.
They keep playing corporate with it. Yes, they will.
Right. They need to let the studio be the studio. And
one thing that made Halo Halo is the independence of the studio. Yes, Microsoft did support Bungie. Microsoft owned Bungie, but Microsoft left Bungie alone.
For the most part.
Don't get me wrong.
And there's a lot of points. Well, and there was a lot of points where Bungie pushed back hard.
Yeah. Well, that's because Bungie knew they had the cash cow. They had the leverage.
Yeah.
They technically weren't Microsoft employees.
I'm just so tired of the corporate bureaucracy. That's
I am too.
That's just driving this game into the ground.
Unfortunately, it's not just video games. Anyway,
like I hope it would be better. Like a story like this is really disheartening and hard to swallow.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be like optimistic about things will get better, but with the things that have come out lately, it's just showing that either the leadership is not in touch with things, or 343/Halo Studios is already in a spot where they're not really going to be like Halo will always be a name in the gaming space, but as far as it being a top game in the industry, it's not going to be there.
Halo will never top the charts again. Not like it did in the past. It is physically impossible.
But there's so much potential, and
there is so much potential.
It won't be a chart topper. Like I'm fine with that. But there are things that they can do to really make Halo stand out and be like, oh, this is now going to be in a majority of players' rotating game list.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, oh, this is nostalgic, I'll go play it when other friends want to play it type of thing. It's like,
I mean, they do need to innovate with the title. That doesn't mean recreate Halo 3. That means they need to innovate with the title to bring in new blood, because it's the new players that drive the game, not the seasoned veterans. And unfortunately, the seasoned veterans are the ones with the loudest mouths. And, like I said before, they need to build their game. They can take feedback from the community, but they need to build their game. And that includes Microsoft keeping their damn hands out of it.
I mean, Call of Duty, for example. Like, Call of Duty, for Halo players, it's like, okay, it's a shooter. It's very fast-paced. It's like, there's a lot of people out there that, outside the Call of Duty space, it's like, it's Call of Duty. And they're raking in 152,000 peak players. It's like, that's a AAA franchise that's been through so much turmoil and so much things worse than Halo. Well, I say things worse than Halo, but at this point, I feel like Halo's starting to catch up. But they have a giant freaking player base.
And I've played Call of Duty. I've played the multiplayer. I can't see why people play it. It's not my type of game. If you play Call of Duty, more power to you. I don't know. I don't know what the draw is. But the same could be reversed from a Call of Duty player. So, I mean, the deal is yes, it's great to be a long timer when it comes to Halo. But we as long timers need to understand that we're not the future. We're the past. What we enjoyed about the game, I'm not saying it necessarily has to leave, but for the game to stay relevant, it has to change.
The issue isn't about the game itself changing, though. It's about the studio and about the culture and about the relationship with the community that they have. That's the thing that's made Halo really attractive.
I will say one thing. 343 has been way more interactive with the community than Bungie ever was. Don't get me wrong. Bungie was active with the community. But 343 Industries has done way more with the Halo community than Bungie ever did. Okay? Their engagement with us has been supreme. They have generated so much buzz around Halo. Sometimes not so good, but anyway. they have done more to promote Halo and the community than Bungie ever did. Back when I was playing Halos 1, 2, and 3, Reach, ODST, honestly, I didn't even know Bungie had a community manager there for a while because it wasn't out there. Granted, those days were different.
I was gonna say, that was a very different era.
You didn't have Twitter. You didn't have Facebook. You didn't have YouTube. You didn't have whatever.
That was kind of the advent of that. So it's hard to compare that as a...
But just, I mean, as far as being in your face, Bungie didn't exist. But when you compare it to how much we've gotten through from 343. I mean, yeah, they put stuff up on their website. That's great. They had probably of all the Halo websites, they've had the most interactive and information full feature rich website of any of them. 343 has and Microsoft have just been butchering the website ever since. I cannot stand Halo Waypoint. I mean, it's clunky to navigate. If you want to find anything about your personal Spartan, good luck. I mean, even browsing for maps is atrocious.
It's not that bad. It's a lot better than that.
It's better as been, but it's still not like it used to be. I mean,
I think it's significantly better. It takes three clicks to get the maps, and
no, I mean to find the stuff.
Oh, well, when it first came out, it was horrible, but the search has gotten a lot better.
The search has gotten better, but it still leaves some stuff clunky. To be desired.
Yeah, it's clunky.
I mean, what Bungie had with their file share, oh god, it was nice.
Oh sure.
I mean, you either need to know the map name or the person that made it, and the search box was right there. It's just right there at the top of the page. You pick one, pick both of them, and it would take you right to it. You could click on the profile. Oh, hey, here's the game saves, or the game files, and here's the map files. And just click, done. Next time you fired up your Xbox, it'd download. Of which I wish they would still do that.
Well, everything's in the cloud. Everything's cloud. Thing, well, that's the equivalent of downloading it because everything's.
I know it's an equivalent. I just would like to have it here.
Well, you can't.
And don't get me wrong. There are pluses and minuses to both systems. One of the downsides to actually downloading the map is if the creator of the map makes changes, your map will not update. Now, with the bookmark system, if they make changes or fixes to the map, it automatically updates and you play the current version, which is great. Don't get me wrong. But I'm kind of a hoarder when it comes to that kind of stuff. I want give. Anyway, and this with the bookmarking system and the way they've structured it now, it's a lot harder for somebody to get their content stolen, which used to happen a lot. Trust me. There were times I'd see 5 or 6 versions of the exact same map with different creators on them. It's like, dude, this guy has the exact same map.
Well, and a lot of times it wasn't malicious. It was just more like, oh, I like this. I want to rehost it for my friends to go download too. So you make a tweak to it. Like, okay, I don't like how it does it this way, so I'm going to make this little tweak, and then it publishes under your name. It's like, okay, here's my version of it. Like, back then, it wasn't. There were people that were trying to do it maliciously, but that was a lot less prevalent back in the Halo 3, Halo Reach days than now, where like that was more probably just harmless. People were just re-uploading it because they liked it, or they.
I like that now that the people that actually generate it get the credit for generating it.
That is nice. Yes.
I mean, if you make a change to it, then fine. You get credit for making your change.
I want to go back real quick to the point you make. While 343 has been interacting more with the community, I feel like they're understanding what the community wants in game for Halo and their understanding of what the community desires overall are not in line with what the community actually wants. I feel like they're like,
Which
yes,
part of the community? You have multiple parts of the community giving 343 conflicting information. So who do they listen to? Do they listen to the casuals? Do they listen to the competitive? Do they listen to the forgers? Do they listen to the machinima makers? Who do they listen to? See, that's the problem
I'm not down at that level. I'm up at a higher level that I'm talking about.
No, you have dozens of opinions on how Halo should be. Very loud voices coming from every direction, all spamming your Twitter feed or your Facebook page or your website in your forums. Who do you listen to? We're all the community.
I'm talking about the majority,
the vocal majority.
Yeah, the people providing feedback. And yes, I get that there's things that people want, things that 40 people want. I'm talking about the things that resonate with the community as a whole. Not necessarily like, oh, I like how this weapon feels.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. The community can never agree on one thing.
And some of the community agree, sure, but there are things that the majority of the community agree pretty heavily on. So like, take
so no sprint.
Well, so I was going to say, sprint is different because you don't have an overwhelming majority that feels one way or the other.
Yes, we did. We had a huge majority of people that said, in Halo 4, no sprint. Take sprint out.
There were still quite a few people that were vocal that said sprint's fine. I was one of those people.
But I am too. I am for sprint. Because it makes sense.
That's not one of those arguments I'm talking about, because you have both camps that are pretty vocal. That's not a unanimously agreed upon.
Okay, what was unanimously agreed on by all communities?
Forge at launch. A customizable system that actually lets you choose your colors for your armor. Like those types of things. I'm not talking about like sprint, no sprint, armor abilities, no armor abilities, game design, no game design.
So you're talking about game content.
Game content, game experience, yeah.
Right. Okay, yeah, I understand that.
That's what I'm talking about. Like those types of things that should be, this is what defines Halo.
Okay.
And that the community agrees kind of defines Halo. But your boss says,
no, you can't do that.
Well, then the boss is stupid.
Well, we are talking about Microsoft here. Anyway, they just fired their whole R&D team. Anyway, I get what you're saying, but yes, next Halo game launches, it needs the full featured playlist, all the game types, and whatever new game types they want to play. It needs to have Forge at launch. It needs to have a full suite of playlists at launch. It needs to have a complete campaign at launch. It needs to have a mostly bug-free multiplayer at launch. Is it going to happen? No. You know it's not going to happen. The next Halo game is going to be a hot mess when it launches. Will it have all that stuff? Yeah. How much of it will work? I have no idea.
I'm hoping with the change to Unity, it's not going to be as much of a hot mess.
Yeah, we'll be lucky if the game launches. I mean, you actually click on the icon and it opens.
I think we'll be okay
without having to do a 25 gig update right after you install the game.
Well, that's every game. You're always going to have a day one update for every game nowadays. There's no way out of that.
Yes, there is. Develop the game before you freaking publish it. Was there a 25 gig update to Halo CE when you put that disc in there? No, because it didn't exist. How about when you popped into that cartridge of Super Mario Brothers? Was there a 25 gig game update? No, because it didn't exist. Because you had to make sure the game was right at launch.
There was a day one update for Halo 3.
Yes, there was. Like I said, there is a mentality in the industry as a whole. Oh, if it's not ready, we'll just fix it at launch. No. Make it right.
Well, hang on.
Now, I can understand adding content that was created after the game was finished. There should not be a day one update to fix bugs.
I don't necessarily agree with that. Grain breaking bugs, sure. But there's things that are just like quirk bugs that are like, okay, if this situation specifically of these scenarios happen and it crashes the game, like you obviously rank and stack bugs in a certain way. And unfortunately, we live in a world where investors are like, okay, it's going to be at this point. So you have to make sacrifices on, okay, we need to get, these are the bare minimum that we need to kill off before we ship the thing. And yeah, work on other things in the background. Like that's totally fine. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, well, next time you buy a car, I'll come by and I'll take one of the wheels and I'll give it to you after you get it home.
That's totally different. That's not an app comparison.
Okay, I'll put the spare on it. You know, so you can...
the app comparison would be the infotainment system has a bug in one of its apps that wasn't done before the car started shipping to the manufacturer. So maybe the first batch needs an update to the infotainment system before the customer walks out the door with it. That would be the actual comparison from a connected IT software world. You can't the software hardware that's not comparable. That's not
the
a comparison.
World, like I said, the mechanical world is different.
Yeah. It's a different industry.
But
you wouldn't expect that from the mechanical world. It even
happens in the mechanical world too. I mean, and that's why you get recalls, because they didn't do the testing, they didn't do what they were supposed to before they let the product leave.
But some of those things don't happen until like 5-10 years after, so you're not going to know the defect until it comes out.
Do you have any idea how much testing goes through some of this stuff? There's a guy right now driving the 2028 cars around a damn track in a circle that's rougher than any road you've ever been on, just find vibrations in the suspension.
But don't some of those materials,
the stuff that they let go through for recalls is because they're damn lazy and they think they can get away with it.
Okay. Fair enough. You know the industry better than I do, so I'll take your word for it.
It's the same thing with game design. They rate what they'll let go by what they think they can get away with. And then when it causes a problem...
Sometimes. Yes.
That's corporate thinking. They will not put any more effort into something than they absolutely have to if they can get away with it. I mean, that's the way they work. Because the more effort they put into it, the more money it costs them.
Some maybe think that way, but that's not everybody. Sometimes you're just up against a deadline and you have to make a decision of what...
I understand that, but they'll rate... They're always against the deadline.
Right.
Every project is always against the deadline. It doesn't matter what project it is. There is a deadline when it has to be done. So what they'll do is they go through and say, well, okay, this one. Yeah, those probably won't cause a problem. We'll just let those slide. And then day one, it does.
You make a risk assessment. That's risk impact assessment.
Like
that's a standard thing in information technology.
Put the damn game in and play the game when I put it in.
As someone who is in a senior role in an IT organization, that risk impact assessment is a thing. You go through and you rank which ones, and it's not necessarily, we're going to let these slide because we're not going to assume anyone's going to know this. It's like, no, these are lower impact or risk than these other big things. We're going to focus on these things, and then we'll get to these things later. Sure, it might affect these users, but here's the workaround if it happens, and we'll work on the fix after this initial release or this specific release.
So what did these game companies do before the internet?
You shipped with bugs. You decided which bugs you needed to squash before you shipped, and the other bugs, they lived in the game. There's bugs that exist in the games before the internet.
Yeah, I know.
This isn't something new.
No, there's not. But they shipped in a playable fashion. Well, 98% of them. There are a few games out there that they were not playable at all.
What do you define as playable fashion, though?
To be able to access every function of the game, complete every level without a major system crash.
Okay, what if on your playthrough you went and you encountered something that only happens to 0.01% of players, but for you it was on your first playthrough, so if in your opinion it was game breaking, the game didn't ship in a playable state.
If it happens twice, then it's a problem. I mean, don't get me wrong, with any piece of software there are random bugs. turn it off, turn it back on again. Okay, fine.
Yeah, but what if it happened twice was something that happened an hour ago in your playthrough that you hit
If
it
I
again?
come across a problem that is repetitive and
That's one thing.
consistently fails, and nobody else seems to be having a problem with it, that seems to be a design issue in either the console or the game.
Well, if it's reproducible by multiple people, then yeah, you have a problem.
Like I said,
but even then, you have to rank those on what's going to be the biggest impact to the experience of the product.
Yeah,
it happens all the time.
Yeah, I know, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being the beta tester.
We've been burned with it on Halo 5. We've been burned with it on Halo Infinite.
Been burned with it on Windows.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want.
So it's that kind of stuff I'm talking about, where it's like the community is like almost unanimous in certain things about.
That's the kind of stuff I don't want. I don't want to be the tester. I don't want to have to play the game, find out like the frickin' MCC, get into the game and nothing works. Or it works for some people, but it doesn't work for other people.
Well, MCC was a whole. Well, MCC is a really weird.
It was an extreme. It was definitely the extreme, and I will give it that. It did make memories.
Kudos to 343 for sticking with it and making the product that it ended up being.
Mm-hmm. And the only reason that happened is Microsoft didn't have a choice. Microsoft couldn't leave that out there like that. There was no way.
Well, they could have.
No, they could have.
They could have cut their losses. Yeah, sure they could have.
And risked the future revenue from any other Halo game. I mean, that's a pretty big black spot on the record.
Yeah, but how long was MCC broken before the Halo 5 beta was out and people were already talking good things about the Halo 5 beta and the MCC was still in a horrible state?
Yeah. I know.
They had the momentum with Halo 5. They could have just completely cut their losses with MCC and it would have been fine.
Until they played the campaign. I'm talking about the players playing the Halo 5 campaign. Anyway.
What was wrong with the campaign?
Just the lack of story.
Oh, well, yeah. I thought you were
it played beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It's great.
I thought you were functionally talking about the campaign, but yeah, the story left something to be desired.
I mean, there were a lot of things I didn't like about Halo 5. The campaign I did not like. I mean, I enjoyed the campaign, but it wasn't what I expected due to the marketing. I kind of liked Warzone, but it got old really quick because of the reliance on requisitions.
Well, and the engineering that had to go into actually build that mode, it was completely separate. You could do that now in Infinite with the script brains, but
yeah,
when it was a whole separate experience and you had to have dev made maps for that was a huge investment to keep that. So I get that, yeah.
No, I mean, I honestly was over Warzone within the first month. The dependence on requisitions was getting me. And the other side of that is the randomness of the drops.
Well, and that, again, Call of Duty influence.
Like the entire history of me playing Halo 5. Anybody want to guess how many Phaetons I got? Total.
It was single digits, right?
I can count them on my hands.
Including the Helioses?
All Phaetons.
I think I hit double digits at least.
I had 5 regular Phaetons. And I had 4 Helioses. And then you get someone like Bobby, God bless you, by the way, that comes into a Warzone match and has 77 of them.
I don't think he had that many, but he had a fair amount.
He was supplying the entire team with Phaetons.
Yeah, he would spawn them in and then give it to us.
It's like, thank God they came up with that mode.
Right.
Because Bobby would have never gone through all the stuff he got. Although I did beat by a wolf to the wolf skin, so.
You did.
It's all even. Not. But anyway.
Last thing, I'll touch on this briefly. We're not going to have the podcast next week because I have to be on Liam watch. My wife is going out to see a movie with some friends to celebrate her birthday. But there was a proposed episode for Secret Level, which is a Amazon Prime series that's kind of like little episodes inside of game universes. Like, okay, if you were to do this kind of within this franchise, what would something look like that look like? So think of like one episode things of dipping into video game franchises and doing things. And there was a proposal apparently for a Halo Doom crossover, which has been a big thing for the longest time.
Oh yeah,
because Halo is kind of has some inspirations from Doom.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently somewhere on social media, I think it was Twitter or somewhere, but there was just a one-word reply from Microsoft that was just, nah, when someone asked about it. It's like, not the kind of response I would expect. I would expect while we would be curious to see how those pan out, it's not within our interest to explore such a thing. Instead of just a one-word answer of, nah.
Didn't Microsoft own both properties now?
Do they? Anyways, I kind of see why Microsoft might not be wanting to do a Halo Doom crossover on Secret Level, just because they have the Halo TV